Okay, for the second time. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Relationships One and One. Now I beseech thee by the power that is invested in me by God to let's pray, let's talk, and then let's have a conversation. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Relationships One and One. I am Anthony Richards, and this is.
Lois
She's
Richards.
catching on. She's catching on. Good deal. Good deal. Welcome to our program this
Mm.
afternoon. We are so excited, so glad to be here, spending this time with you and you with us. What better place could we be but with you? We want to thank you so much for being a faithful listener to this broadcast, to this relationship one
One
and
and
one
one.
program. We really do take it seriously. This is something God has given us so that we would be able to help those who are in relationships, generally speaking. And so we want to thank you so much for reaching out today. You know how you can get in touch with us, right? At the end of the each program, we put up a screen there in terms of contact,
Contact
and we
info.
call that our contact information. If you feel like you want to touch base with one of us, you can do so through by looking at that contact slide. We would be happy to take your cares and concerns and your cries of outrage. So listen to me, please do us a favor. Just look at that contact page and take the information down. Or you can drop us a line even after this program has been concluded. Yeah, you can drop us a line right there in that discussion box. Give us your name, your number, what you want us to know, or what your questions might be. And we will be happy to kind of address those questions on the next program if we can. If we can't, we'll just tell you, man, we're just researching and looking into it. But more likely, we will address your cares, concerns, or your cries of outrage. I want to thank you for again watching this program. We believe that this program can be a help to you and your family and your friends and your loved ones. So, with that being said, could you do me a favor and just hit like and share the broadcast? Man, you would be doing us a humongous favor if you would just hit like and share the broadcast. We
And
want,
subscribe
right,
if you have not.
absolutely. Please do. We depend on those subscriptions. It's important towards the growth and development and this kind of evolving of the program. We really need you to come in and help us with that by clicking like and share. We really appreciate you doing that for us. Well, we're going to be here with you for the next hour or so, talking about, of course, relationships. But before we get in to our program, why don't we do this? Let's pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we want to thank you for your loving kindness towards us. Your loving kindness, oh God, has been better than life. I'm not sure if we did not have your loving kindness that we could be here today. Lord, thank you. Thank you for grace which is manifested in your loving kindness. Oh God, your loving kindness was even expressed in the giving of your Son on a place called Calvary. And through that giving of your Son, we are recipients, beneficiaries of your loving kindness. Continue to walk with us today. Be with this program. Be with that person who is listening, all the listening ears that will tune in one way or the other, even after this broadcast. Father God, we declare a blessing over their lives. Lord, we thank you. We praise you in Jesus' name. Let all of God's people say, Amen and amen. Like I said, we have a great program lined up for you. And today, we're going to be talking about signs of a healthy relationship. Signs of a healthy relationship. If you notice the sign up here, what it says, relationships 1 and 1.
Well, they can't see.
Oh, they can see it now. Oh, yeah, well, this is what's up here. Relationships 1 and 1, right? So we feel like today we need to talk about what a healthy relationship is. And this is a part 2, by the way, so stay tuned. I know it's going to be really
One of part 2.
One of part 2, yes. I should say there will be a part 2. I'm sorry. I need to be communicatively clear. I get that. So I thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening to us. We really appreciate that. As you know, our program follows 3 important pillars, vitally important: let's talk, and then let's have a conversation. So that's kind of the pillars of our program. So right now, without further ado, we're going to kick it to you. Then we're going to come back on the of this thing called Let's Talk. And we're going to discuss the video that we just witnessed in real time. All right, I'll see you on the...
As soon as a woman calls herself independent, that's a red flag to me. We don't like independent women. We do like self-sufficient women, but there's a major difference between the two. We don't mind self-sufficiency. A woman that has her own career, her own place, cars, money, businesses, we don't mind that. But the minute you start to idolize your independence is where we see red flags, because there's a certain spirit that comes along with that. It's the I don't need anybody paradigm. Let's flip it. How would women feel if they met a man and every time he spoke, he sounded like, I pay my own bills and they're all in my name. I live on my own. I don't need nobody. She'd probably say like, bro, you're an adult. You're supposed to do that. Like, are you good? Like, is there a chip on your shoulder? Like, but even deeper to the point, I'll never make my woman feel like I don't need her. Can you imagine how I would look to a woman who liked me if I walked around shouting how independent I am or how I don't need anybody? Like, imagine how that would make her feel. Nah, I'm waking up every day and reassuring her that I want her, I desire her, and I need her. I'm not a weak man for admitting I need my woman. But I'm worried that some women are so attached to that independent teaching that they're going to independent themselves right into a lonely life. Or worse, form an attachment but still perceive the relationship through an independent field of view. As soon as a woman calls herself independent, that's a red flag to me. We don't like independent women. We do like self-sufficient women, but there's a major difference between the two. We don't mind self-sufficiency. A woman that has her own career, her own place, cars, money, businesses, we don't mind that. But the minute you start to idolize your independence is where we see red flags, because there's a certain spirit that comes along with that. It's the I don't need anybody paradigm. Let's flip it. How would women feel if they met a man and every time he spoke, he sounded like, I pay my own bills and they're all in my name. I live on my own. I don't need nobody. She'd probably say like, bro, you're an adult. You're supposed to do that. Like, are you good? Like, is there a chip on your shoulder? Like, but even deeper to the point, I'll never make my woman feel like I don't need her. Can you imagine how I would look to a woman who liked me if I walked around shouting how independent I am or how I don't need anybody? Like, imagine how that would make her feel. Nah, I'm waking up every day and reassuring her that I want her, I desire her, and I need her. I'm not a weak man for admitting I need my woman. But I'm worried that some women are so attached to that independent teaching that they're going to independent themselves right into a lonely life. Or worse, form an attachment but still perceive the relationship through an independent field of view. As soon as a woman calls herself independent, that's a red flag to me.
As soon as a woman calls herself independent, that is a red flag. Oh my goodness. All right, the women out there going like, what is he talking about? Like, dude, like really? I get that feeling. I get that feeling in the room. My wife is sitting there thinking like, what is this dude talking about? Okay. All right. So what did you get
No,
from
I
that?
get.
Purpose. Purpose. What do you get? What do you get?
I'm. I think why some women have to do that is because of experiences they may have had, where they've had to prove um, that they're able to take care of themselves. They've had to do that. Um, I think
Happy Sabbath.
yes, happy Sabbath.
I have
Uh,
one.
yeah, I think it's more so if you've come to a place where you've had to fight for your independence, basically fight for yourself, because a lot of times men may have maybe pushed women to that point where you know they're not
Hey,
welcoming
hey, Yvette. Happy Sabbath.
welcoming of that independence, whereas on the other hand some women, yeah, they're doing, as he said, a lot to show that they're independent, you know? So I can see it from both ways, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah. You're looking at me like, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're doing, you're parsing, you're trying to defend. I think no,
No,
let me
no, I'm
finish.
not.
I think you're saying you're sympathetic to one side and as much as you're sympathetic
That's what
to
I'm
the
saying.
other
I can
side,
see it
right?
as both. But I do agree that you don't have to sound a bullhorn about your independence because, as he said, self-sufficiency is is a wonderful thing when you're able to achieve your dreams, achieve your goals as a young woman, you know, just as how the young man has goals and dreams in life, so does the woman. And so, you know, you'll see a lot of women out there, they go and you know, they strive for excellence. They go and they open businesses, they get their degrees in certain things, become doctors, lawyers, you know, and they achieve these things. They buy their homes and all of that. And so there's a place for that. But I think what he is saying is that when you start to idolize that now and you start to you know make that be who you are, then that is where things go wrong.
I just think he's speaking to the women who have this complex about not needing a man structure. Those who have been um,
Hurt, I
no,
think.
not hurt, but those who have been kind of taught and those who have kind of been, molded in the framework of I don't need a man kind of stuff. I really don't think
That's when it's dangerous.
yeah, I think that when you think about these things, you have to look at what is God's design. There has to be dependency and that's how God created it. Like there has to be dependency. So I think what he's saying is that you have women out here who is in this kind of framework and have this narrative about flashing their independence, and that is a
Mm-hmm.
turnoff
To
for
men.
men. Men don't respect that. In fact, you like he said, you're gonna independence yourself into a lonely existence because men are just not gonna deal with that, and that is so true. And the Bible makes that very
Some
clear.
men will, but then they will probably use it more towards their advantage.
Well, they're going to use them. That's what they're
Yeah.
going to do because,
And it
they,
will
yeah,
then become
yeah.
a very unhealthy,
And I think it's about permission structure. Like, what do you want to give yourself permission, or how do you want to give yourself permission to feel and not feel? So it comes down to my permission structure and what I am willing to really say to myself, speak over myself, and how much of value that I place on that. And so I think what he's saying, there's a lot of women who place value on that kind of permission structure that society has kind of given them, and is working out for them. And this is, I'm just being very clear that that is not God, not God's way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we expect a man to be, as Avril is saying, we
Yeah, let
expect a
me
man
read
to
what she
be.
said.
Go ahead, Lois.
Yes. I was saying we expect a man to be independent. God made Adam and Eve, hence our desire should be for each other.
Absolutely. And so what he's saying is absolutely correct, because he's saying that you have women out here who are boasting, bloating and gloating in this idea of the permission structure of being independent. What you have to understand, is that society creates permission structures for people, and you're going to buy into the dominant narrative. And for most women, not for most, but for some women, they have bought into the dominant narrative of independence. And I also think this feeds into a larger picture where, because of how women feel so oppressed, there is this desire for them to be independent so that they don't have to deal with the oppression or
That's
the
why I was saying
of
at the
men.
top
Right.
that experiences they may have
Yeah.
had a very bad experience where they were not allowed to be an individual,
And
so they had to
yeah, and
go
so
down that
it's a
road.
form of defense mechanism that
Yes.
women use when they're in that space. But notice that he said, of course, I'm going to tell my woman that I love her, I
And I
care
need
about
her.
her, and I need her.
Mhm.
So what you see he's presenting is a more balanced view of a
Yes.
biblical treaty or relationship kind of point of view from the Bible. And so that's what we have to implement. That's what we have to see being erected in relationship, and not the kind of societal standards about success and education and independence. Listen, it's true. There is a difference between independence and what again he said? And
Self-sufficiency.
self-sufficiency.
Mhm.
Independence means I don't really need you, right? I can take care of myself. And so for most men, then if you can take care of yourself, why do you want to be in a relationship? Like, that's not how it works. And so we have to find a way
They
how
want the
to
benefits of a
relationship
but still want to
once maintain there's the
independence.
permission structure, yes, that
Mhm.
they are creating for
Mhm.
themselves. And a lot of women do that on a regular. Go ahead.
Avril says, I think also we have a lot of men that are not being breadwinners. So this can be a real strain on the women.
And I think so.
That's a big
And I agree with
issue,
that. That
yeah.
is a big problem that we're having in relationships today.
Mm.
And that's one of the things that we have come to even talk about, I think, down maybe in the part 2, is that
Mhm.
what makes a healthy relationship, right? Well, part of a healthy relationship is a great provider,
Yeah.
because a woman needs a great provider. So like Avril is saying, she don't really have to go out there and create a permission structure for herself where she feels like she really don't need anybody.
Mhm.
Go
Because she
ahead.
can't depend on the
The
man.
man to do what
So
he
that
needs
is
to
a
do.
lot of women go
Yeah.
through that.
Yeah.
She's also said some do not place great value on educating themselves, being marketable.
Absolutely. And some men. And so, yeah, I think that women have to kind of do the heavy lifting. And when you have women doing the heavy lifting, you run the possibility of them feeling like, well, Why do I need you for?
Yeah.
And I can do this all by myself.
Myself.
So I think sometimes men kind of give women that permission structure to be independent, believe it or not, pushing them towards this, the
Because they
means to
cannot
an end.
depend on them. They, when they
Absolutely.
need them in the home to provide, to be there to protect them,
Absolutely.
a lot of men are falling short, and that's
I
just
agree with that.
the truth of the matter.
I,
And so,
I totally agree.
a lot of women, because of what they have experienced, they have gotten to that point where
Yeah.
they have to rely on their independence.
But I also think that too, you have mothers who are rearing and fathers who are rearing their girls to be independent of men. And it starts sometimes in the home where when the women are told, when the women are having, well, get your education. So if anything happened, you don't need a man. And you hear this even in the home from these, growing up as girls and boys. I just think that these things are an anomaly. They do not work. They create more problems than how they create solutions. And so I do applaud him to say, well, yeah, men, well thinking men, educated men, and non educated men who are well, because you have non educated men who are well thinking men who they might not have a degree, but they have like a skill. They can take care of their families, and they're well thinking Christian men. So we can't say that because the man doesn't have a degree, he's not a well thinking person. You have men out here who are quite capable of working really hard and just educating themselves in terms of the word and life, and they're good men with integrity and decency, and they're providing and they're doing what they need to do as as opposed to men who are not doing so. But I really believe it's important that we get these kind of things right in the home, where women are being told as they're getting themselves educated, not because you're getting an education, it means that you don't need
there has to be a
a balance.
balance
Absolutely.
with
Absolutely.
that dialogue,
Absolutely.
that conversation that you have with
Yes.
your female children.
Absolutely. Like I
You-
was watching this
yeah.
video online the other day, and the girl said, well, she was one of those independent women who makes her money. And she said, well, I don't need a man. And so the guy said, what do you mean you don't need a man? What if your car get busted? Well, I just take it to my mechanic. Well, hello. Most mechanics are men. What are you talking about? God said it. God designed it this way. Men need women, and women need men. That's how God designed it to be.
But
We-
you see,
you see,
society makes it look
Twisted that.
like that is
Yeah,
not something
yeah.
that is the norm. Needing each other. God said
Oh,
saw that Adam was lonely in the garden, and he created Eve. It's okay.
right.
We don't have to say it's not. It's a problem. You know what I
Right.
mean?
I got you.
Yvette is saying here, women are sometimes pushed to independence because the men are are not around are around and not stepping up to take care of
I
their
got you.
women.
I got you.
Then when the written step up, they okay. Hold on. When I'm not sure I understand that part.
Then when the women step up, they're
They're
accused of being too independent
okay.
and showing too much masculine energy. How do we get it
Get it right,
Okay, good.
yes.
And so yeah, excellent point.
She brought up your term, masculine.
Masculine energy. Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes I tell my wife,
Yvette,
so, yes.
My husband loves that term.
Yeah, when I see masculine energy in a woman, I know because she's more aggressive, right? Feminine energy is more submissive. Masculine energy is more aggressive. So when you see a feminine energy, when you see masculine energy in a woman, you can tell because it's not her. She's not being herself. Women weren't made to be masculine. They were made to be feminine. That's why they have estrogen, and it relates to being feminine. Am I right? Yes, that's what it means, right? And that's why the other one is what? If when it as opposed to estrogen, then you have what? Come, come on.
You're saying masculine energy. Come on,
No, I'm just
bring it
saying.
out.
Yeah, what is the opposite of the
Testosterone.
right? Right. That is masculine energy.
Mhm.
So women don't have testosterone, right? Men do, but sometimes women do. But to get to Yvette's point, which is excellent, by the way, I like this observation because I do agree with you, Yvette, in like
Excuse me.
100% that women are pushed, right? They are pushed around,
Mhm.
and men are not taking care of women. You are absolutely right. I think that is part of the breakdown, Yvette, that we have to really address. You know, and so when the women step up and they do, what they have to do, now they're accused of being too masculine.
Masculine.
And I think, yeah, that's a problem. How do we get this right? I think we have to start to get it right by having men step up in their rightful place, to take their rightful place in society.
It's been an
Yes,
epidemic,
it's like
really.
absolutely. But I really do think this is how we start to address it,
Yeah.
by challenging men to go back to God's original intent and design for relationships between each other. But if men are going to abdicate that responsibility, then I think it creates a permission structure for women to do what they got to do. Because if they ain't a man taking care of business, then I got to take care of my business. And now that might force me to be masculine, but oh well. I mean, yeah, I get it. I mean, I am
Mhm.
put in this place where I have no choice but to step up to the plate and be at times masculine and sometimes feminine, but I got
Yeah.
to take care of me. Single women who have to take care of themselves cannot help but be independent. I get that. Not that they do not want a man, okay, but do they have to need him to be feminine? Well, no, I mean, I think if you're created feminine, you're just feminine. You don't really need a man to be feminine, because femininity is femininity. But it's good when you have one that you have a feminine touch. So to answer your question, I don't think a woman has to have a man to be feminine. I think a woman is just feminine by what? Design,
Mhm.
right? So whether she has a man or not, her femininity doesn't change. She is who she is. Whether a man have a woman or not, his masculinity doesn't change. He is a masculine gender, and species. So I think whether we're feminine or masculine, we have to maintain our just our biological traits as men and women. But I do agree with you, Yvette. I mean, I
I,
think your point is well taken, though. I do
and
believe so.
as I mentioned at the top, it's like experiences that women go through,
Right.
um, that causes the the um the viewpoint now that she's constantly saying she's independent,
Right.
and so yes, when you're single and you're, as Yvette said, you have to take care of yourself.
Right.
This is what you have to do. You cannot, that's why I'm saying you cannot make that be now something that you idolize and
Absolutely.
you shout it out to the world that, hey, I'm single, I'm independent, I don't
Right.
need a man. If God blesses you in a relationship, by all means,
Yes.
this is something that if you
Oh, attitude, Yvette. Okay, go ahead.
if you
Got you. So she's speaking about
oh,
attitude.
attitude.
Yes.
Yes. If God blesses you in a
Okay.
relationship, then hopefully, you'll welcome not being in that singlehood.
Got you.
If
Got you.
if this person is someone you believe God has sent, so
I also think, Lois, that having a man in your life, I guess we don't, it really helps you to display that female femininity, at highlight it. A man, all right, so a woman is supposed to bring out in man um his best qualities. Like she's there to help him to meet God's design for his life.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, the man is there to help her to meet God's design
Right.
for her life. And I think that when you have a man and a woman in each other's life, they both help to symbiotically help to bring out feminine tendencies and feminine attitudes. I do believe that. I think so because when I look at Adam and Eve, having the both of them together must have kind of helped each of them to kind of soar high in their prospective gender. And that's why
Mm-hmm.
God kind of put them together so that they can really help each other to grow in their gender as
Yes.
how God had intended. So yes,
Yes.
so sometimes when a man is in the house, it kind of augment and fling out that feminine nature and nurturing sense in her that is only God given. Now,
Mm-hmm.
can she demonstrate that attitude without a man? Yes, she can. I believe that. There's no restriction
Mm-hmm.
because, like I said, one, she's feminine, she's feminine. But I do understand what you're saying, Yvette, and your point is well taken. Okay, well taken. Point taken, my Yvette. Point really taken. All right.
Okay.
So,
So that was our Let's
talk.
Talk.
Thank you for hanging. Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, today, as you know, guys, we are talking about signs of a healthy relationship. Like I said, this is a
Excuse
part
me.
two. So we're not going to rush it. We're just going to kind of, there's so much to talk about here. And I don't want to miss some things that I think it's important for us to cover in this two-part series. So this is kind of our introductory sauce, so to speak. All right. So listen, but before we go, I think I've developed something here, Lois. I think when I was at church this morning, I thought about it. Like, man, maybe this is a good way to do a little kind of sub thing, and like introducing a new word for the day. And so I want to introduce
Oh.
a new word for the day. Insouciant. Insouciant. Insouciant.
Say it again because you didn't spell it right.
Insouciant.
That's a S.
Insouciant. 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 It means free from concern, worry, or anxiety. Otherwise known as you're telling somebody to take a super chill pill, chill out. Insouciant. Insouciant. I did that at church today. I thought I'll do it. So remember, make that a part of. So instead of saying "Don't worry," just say to the person, "Please don't be insouciant." Give me a sentence with the word insouciant, Lois. Other than what I just said a while ago. Formulate a
Don't be
sentence.
filled with insouciant.
In what? Insouciant. Insouciant.
Don't be filled with worry, right?
Right.
Insouciance. I
Yes.
guess it would be
It's
insouciance.
an adjective.
Don't be filled with insouciance.
Yes. Don't be filled with worry or anxiety. In other words, take a super chill pill. Chill out.
Okay.
Insouciant. All right. Word
Wonderful.
of the day. We'll have one next week, and each week we have a word. Now you are responsible for bringing the next word of the week next week. Don't forget.
Okay.
Don't forget. All right. So we are talking today, my brothers and sisters, kingdom people, wherever you are, right? We're ready to start a revolution. Can I ask you a question? Do you want a revolution? Yes. Yeah, we're about to have a revolution. Okay. So we're talking today, my friends, about signs of a healthy relationship. first, what I want to do for you, I want to kind of, I read this quote from this lady by the name, actually, this man, Shannon Thomas, and he said this. Can you read that for me, Lois, so we can?
A healthy relationship is a feast of affection given for both people, not one receiving crumbs and trying to convince themselves it's enough. I'll read that again.
Yeah.
A healthy relationship is a feast of affection slash giving for both people, not one receiving crumbs and trying to convince themselves it's enough.
Mm. The last part
I
is
like
pretty
that.
interesting. The last part is pretty interesting. Not one receiving crumbs and trying to convince themselves.
It's enough.
It's
And
enough.
that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah, and right there you could see the chemical, the relational, the spiritual, the
Imbalance.
psychological imbalance, because it's one trying to say, okay, I'm getting crap from the other person, but you know what?
It's okay. I'm gonna deal with
gonna
it.
deal with it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And some people believe that's what they deserve,
Right, right. And
It's just
so
sad.
I like that quote though. I think it's write
It's
that
a
down, folks.
powerful quote.
Yeah, because that says don't let people give you breadcrumbs and you settle for breadcrumbs. You're more than breadcrumbs. You are more than what people give you in your relationship. Some of you are settling for nothing, and you know what? Marriage has now become the conduit to which people now are settling for nothing. And because I'm married, I have to take this. Well, no, you don't have to take it. I'm not saying get up and I'm not saying that you can't exercise your liberty, but I'm saying that you can get up and say to yourself, I am not accepting this. I deserve better. And one of the signs of a unhealthy relationship is the inability of another person to say clearly what they are not happy with.
Yvette says
Period.
that that's a self-esteem issue for the person that is settling.
Yes, I agree. I got to agree with you. Boy, Yvette is on point. She's knocking it. Oh, whoa, whoa. You're right. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah,
And
it's
the power play
yeah.
for the one given.
Yeah, the power play for the one giving. Yeah, so
Self-esteem for the
one receiving
that is settling, yes.
and receiving, and the power play from the one who is giving. So that's clearly, as Yvette is pointing out, an imbalance of
right.
power relationship. Yeah, that's kind of really imbalanced. So yeah, pretty much. All right, let's move on as we try to make some headway here. Now I need you guys to know that the Bible makes it very clear that when God created Adam and Eve, his intent, Lois, his intent was for them to have a wonderful, God-honoring, healthy relationship.
Yeah.
That was God's intent, God's design. That is what was flowing out of God's heart when the whole notion and idea was lionized or propagated in heaven between Jesus and God to let us create man, and the Holy Spirit to let us create man in our what?
Own image.
Yes, in our own image. The intent was for them was to have a wonderful, God-honoring relationship and a great relationship with their significant other or spouse. All right? So I think that was God's design. And this is obvious, Lois, by what text? What does that say?
Genesis 1, verse 28.
Okay.
Then God blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply.
Right there, Lois, tells you all about what healthy relationships is all about. Right? Can you put it back over there for them again for me, please? That is the embryo, if I could say. that is the building, the apex, whatever you want to call it, of what a healthy relationship should look like. Fruitful and multiplying in that fruitfulness. When you think about something being fruitful, you think about abundance, plenty, fruitful, growing, vines, grapes. You get what I'm saying? Fruitful.
So that's able now to
Yes, multiply. Fruits multiply.
And that is just a visual that I got, is that you're talking about the fruit and the tree, the branches and all of that.
Right.
Everything is blossoming. There are many relationships that the opposite is happening.
Right. It's unfruitful.
Where it's unfruitful.
Correct.
Nothing is growing in the relationship.
Yes.
It's like you're sucking the nutrients, everything out of
it, right.
the vine, so that it cannot
grow or produce.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. That's kind of the picture of a unhealthy relationship. All right? Good. So let's move right along. However, I believe that sin created a fracture between the first couple, right? Damaging the healthy relationship God had in mind for them. Since then, every relationship that has been formed on this earth has been marred by sin, making it challenging to have healthy relationships.
That's so true.
I'm telling you, once that relationship in the garden collapsed, it was kind of what they say now, it was kind of a roadmap, so to speak, for all.
Like the word you use, a fracture.
A fracture, yeah.
Broken.
Broken, yeah. And so from that point onwards, every relationship, Lois, will now experience brokenness. Every one of them. There is not a relationship on the face of this planet that have not experienced some kind of brokenness, that has not been affected by sin, that have not been affected by, attitudes and actions coming out of the marring and fracturing of sin. All relationships have somewhat passed under that bridge, one time or the other. Some will pass under the bridge and they might come out on the other side okay, but some don't make it out. It's like going through, have you ever been through the Hunnell Tunnel in New York? I heard that tunnel runs under the Hudson,
See?
I don't know, something like under some river or something. And so you've got to drive and go through that. And then you are deposited on the other side into New Jersey, something like that. I don't know. Do you remember?
I don't know what state you're deposited into, but I know
I know you're closer to New Jersey.
Yeah,
Am I
it's
right?
between
Those of you who are watching.
states.
Yeah, it's between
Yeah,
states.
I'm not too versed on.
I think you're closer to New Jersey when you come out on the other side. And so the issue is, whether you're not closer, but the other thing, I'm using the imagery to suggest that some relationships go into the tunnel, and boy, they get fractured in the tunnel. They really don't, couldn't come out, just couldn't make it out. While some will come out, but they will come out hopping. They will come out limping then, right? And so that's kind of what it has been. Ever since sin entered the world, relationships are not perfect anymore. And so that's why I've always said this, and I keep on saying it, that we don't have a perfect relationship. Our relationship is what? A progress, a work, they say, in progress. And sometimes we have our own.
It's a daily renewal, really.
Yeah, you know why? Because our relationship is affected by that fracturing that happened in the garden, right? And you can imagine after the fracturing of the relationship with Adam and Eve, what their lives must have been like. In fact, when you read the Apocrypha, it tells you that Adam blamed Eve for the destruction that came upon him. In fact, because he was about to die in the Apocrypha. Y'all need to read that story. Apocrypha kind of gives us some insight as to life outside of the garden. And what the writers in the Apocrypha seems to point out is that Eve was being blamed by Adam for her disobedience to God. And now that he's sick, he blamed her for him going to, in essence, who is, for him going to die. And so I know that the relationship with Adam and Eve was challenging beyond the garden. I get it. They had crazy issues.
Blame issues.
In fact, after sin, they not only blamed them, there was not only blame among themselves, but they were blaming God. Right? So sin created a challenge for all relationships today. And anybody who you hear tell you that they have this really, this Cinderella relationship, they are masking. A lot of people are good at that. They do what we call, Irvin Goffman will talk about front stage, backstage. You have some people who leave out their house and they make it look like their relationship is healthy, but it's really not, because it's affected by sin. But they wouldn't say that though. You have these what they call them.
It's hidden.
You have these internet influencers who tape their relationships, and you would think that these relationships are the dot.
Yeah.
What they said, the dot. The bomb.com, they say. I don't like to use these phrases, but that's what these influencers do. They tape this program.
Hey.
There's this couple who is online by the name of Chrissy and CMR. I kind of look at them because they give me material. Thank you, guys. And I'm not capitalizing. I'm just saying, when I watch these things, it helps me to understand relationships at a deeper level. And the both of them are having serious challenges now, because in the get up from the, in their ecosystem, in their relationship ecosystem, they painted it as being perfect. They painted it as if this is the relationship. They are very successful. They have a good house. They have children. And man, I mean, nothing is not, it couldn't be nicer than that.
Yeah.
But now they're having serious issues, serious issues, and their worlds are falling apart. I tell you, it's better for you to look people in the eye and say to them, yes, we are a couple, but we've got issues. But you know what? We're working on those issues. And when the lights go off on this podcast, I have got to go live with Lois. And she has got to come live with me. And I'm telling you, sometimes things at times can be bumpy. You ever drive on a bumpy road, or you in an airplane and you're experiencing what they call, Lois? Turbulence. Yes, we experience turbulence too. We are just choosing to deal with our turbulence in a way that is private, and deal with it in a way that is godly, and suppress our, what they call now, Lois, the sin nature and flesh, and work on those things. But by no stretch of the imagination is this here perfect. This is not a perfect union. Every day God is bringing it towards where he wants us to be. So the point here is this. Sin created a fracture. And because of that, every relationship now was prone to be dysfunctional. But that doesn't mean that God is not able to bring the relationship out of toxicity into into at least some sense of functionality. Next slide. Yeah. So what is a healthy relationship, Lois? Can you talk to them? What is really, we're talking about a healthy relationship. What is a healthy relationship? What is a healthy relationship?
I'm glad you asked. A healthy husband-wife
Good Lord.
relationship
Good Lord.
is built on a foundation of mutual respect, open communication, trust, commitment, shared values, the ability to compromise, and support for each other's individual needs and goals while maintaining healthy boundaries and actively nurturing emotional intimacy. Essentially, treating each other with kindness, understanding, and consideration throughout life's ups and downs.
AI generated, folks.
That's a mouthful, but
Yeah.
it captured a lot
Yeah, it's a lot
of
in
what
perspective.
we need
Yeah.
in a relationship.
Now, the
And I
truth.
say too, it's more than husband wife. In any relationship, you need that respect, that trust. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it could be any relationship, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like you said, that's a mouthful to kind of swallow. And we'd have to parse every single piece. You know, every single piece could be um, a program. Foundation of mutual respect, open communication, trust,
Mm-hmm.
commitment,
Amen.
shared values, the ability to compromise, support for each other's individual needs and goals,
Mm-hmm. While
healthy healthy
healthy
boundaries, active nurturing, emotional intimacy,
intimacy,
treating each other with kindness, understanding,
understanding.
consideration throughout the ups and downs. Those are all topics. You want us to take them on? That's a lot.
Let's do it.
That'll be a whole year. Good Lord.
I think
Yeah.
we've done respect, didn't we?
Well, no,
And trust.
a long time ago in the pandemic.
But we can come back with it.
Yeah.
I think
Keep this slide because I think we can come out of, if we're talking about healthy relationship, maybe these are some of the things we can address. Yeah. All right.
yes.
All right. Sounds
What
good.
say you?
What do you guys said? What are you guys saying? Look what we got there. Put it up for them. So we're thinking about, man, using these topics. Healthy husband and wife relationship is built on number one, the foundation of mutual trust. What does that look like? Open communication. Open communication means no lies. You're telling me the truth. You're being open and honest with what you're doing. Don't tell me you have money when you're broke. I must be able to trust you. I must be able to have commitment on both sides. And listen, a healthy relationship means we must share the same what? Values. There must be an ability to do what, Lois?
Compromise.
And we've got to support each other's individual needs and goals. And that is where Dr. Gary Chapman comes in when he talk about understanding the 5 love languages, needs, and goals. That is where affirmation comes in. Tell me when I did something good. Work with me. And then healthy boundaries. What does that look like in a relationship? What does active nurturing means? What does emotional intimacy means? That means your sex life. We can come and talk about that. We're big people. The Bible have a lot to say about sexuality. What about treating each other with kindness, understanding, and being considerate throughout ups and downs? How we deal with each other during ups and downs. So I would submit to you that we should take on each as a topic
I agree.
going forward. All right.
So
go
there's
ahead.
a question.
Yes.
Yvette is asking, does that definition describe a healthy relationship or a perfect one? Secondly,
Good Lord.
are those two the same, or how do they differ if they do?
Wow, it's a lot. So let's take the first one. Come on with the first one. Read the first one.
Does that
Definition.
definition describe a healthy relationship or a perfect relationship?
A healthy one. It is working. This one describes two people who are working towards a healthy relationship. There can be no such thing as a perfect relationship. It doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist because of sin. Sin has kind of, that ship has already sailed, right? So it's not describing a
A
a
perfect.
perfect relationship, but at least it's starting to address what a healthy relationship can look like and what partners can work towards to implement as much as possible these elements. Now, let's say this, and I'm answering the questions. On all those points, not everything your spouse will be um, would be capable of kind of really balancing. Some of them are self-taught, some of them they have to be counseled. So this is going to be a work in progress in many, many ways. Because sometimes partners, because of what we call trauma, each of these points can be very, very difficult, complicated. And so there has to be work put in to achieve at least some sense of equilibrium. But I think that this is a start to address what might can be a functional, non-toxic relationship as best as possible. Because there's no such thing as a perfect relationship, no such thing as a perfect spouse, or a perfect husband, or a perfect mother, or a perfect father. What's the third question? The
The
second one?
second one, are those two the same, or how do they differ if they do?
And that means the perfect versus what two are the same? I'm just
The perfect versus healthy.
okay. No, they are not the same. They are not the same. That's why I said. Notice I didn't.
You answered it in
Yeah,
the,
yes. Notice I said a healthy relationship built. So we're talking about just the topic. How can we have a healthy relationship, not a perfect relationship? I don't know what to tell people how to have a perfect relationship. I've never heard about
there
it.
is only one of a
Yes.
husband and wife, and that was Adam and Eve.
Eve. And it lasted for a while, and then
Yeah, and
it was
then
no more. So we didn't get the idea. We didn't get the memo in terms of from come down from the garden. We got sin. We didn't get to figure all of this thing out because Adam and Eve cut that
Yeah,
took
they
that off
messed
the
it up,
table.
really.
So what we can now aspire to is how can we have a healthy, balanced, as much as possible relationship with incorporating and inculcating, if not all of these, as many as
them.
possible to create. Because sometimes you might get 80-20, or you might get 70-30. Some people don't go up above certain threshold. So it all depends, and we'll break that down as we go through the series. All right? I hope, Yvette, that answers your question. Well, let me know, and then I will be. All right. So
So,
what does an unhealthy relationship look like?
mhm.
Okay, Lois, can we
Yes,
rock with
we
that?
Can.
I wanna-
All right, I'm putting up 6 of them right
Very
now.
good, Yvette. Thanks. Keep bringing those questions, Yvette.
No,
Nice.
number 1,
Mm-hmm.
no controlling or manipulative behavior.
All right. So
Mhm.
so here are when you know you're having a really poor relationship, some of these factors are going to be involved. Some of them. You put it over there for them again, or you're just gonna leave it there?
Yeah, when you're finished, I'll
Okay. So no controlling
or
or manipulative behavior.
Number 2,
Yes.
constant instructive.
I'm sorry.
No, not
Co-
Instructive.
Destructive. Sorry.
Yes, that's a
Destructive.
typo, guys.
Yes, the typo.
Number
Yeah, constant destructive criticism, not
Yes.
instructive criticism,
Mhm.
but destructive criticism. Please make that typo
Yes,
in your
typo.
mind. That was a typo. I was typing that, and it should have there
It's
destructive.
not, what is it?
Yes, it's
Okay, that word is fine,
That-
but I
that's
know
word is
there's
fine.
another one. All right, number 3.
right.
Boy, you have a lot of typos. Poor communication.
Yes. Oh, poor. Okay. I'm sorry. I was rushing. All right. So communication, in other words, communication is not good. When you can talk, when you can only talk about some things, and there's just certain things you can't talk about. And that could be because of educational differences, comprehension differences, cognitive differences. That could also be, and I really want to get you guys up to speed with this. That can also be because of triangulation issues. Okay?
Break that down.
So, triangulation issues involve a third person in a conflict between two people, frequently leading to an emotional distress and relationship problems. All right. So, and sometimes triangulation issues are used as a tactics by individual to control the narrative and maintain power within the relationship structure. So sometimes triangulation issues. So let me kind of break that down even a little bit further. Triangulation issues, when you know you don't have when you have a really poor communication relationship, when you know you have a relationship that is really deteriorating, is when you have, if you picture a triangle, mom, husband, wife, mother-in-law, sister, or husband, wife, daughter. And so the husband and the wife is in conflict, and one of them join forces with the other to tear down the other. You call that triangulation. So it doesn't even have to be.
So you're targeting one person.
Yeah.
The
yes.
two people are targeting that
one person. And so what it's meant to do, it's meant to maintain the power structure in the relationship of one of the people by soliciting
help
from the other person to control the other person.
Gotcha.
Now, this can be in terms of families. It doesn't have to be, it can be something outside that is material, right? That can create the triangulation to maintain the power in the relationship. So in a sense, and so the communication is not there to really resolve all of that because of that triangulation. So we'll get into that, a lot of those details when we, all right. So another thing, Lois, is doing what?
Ignoring red flags.
Yes.
Ooh, we talk about
red
about
flags.
those.
Yes, in relationships, it happens. Or a relationship that you're currently going to get into, ignoring red flags. All right. And then there is things like the relationship has to be free from retribution. Can you break that down for them for me? Retribution.
Getting back at you.
Getting back at each other.
Yeah.
You know, you do something, so I'm going to do something. You did this to me, so I'm going to do this to you. And so it's a back and forth retribution. Okay? The Bible warns about retribution. It's wrong. Retribution can also mean because you tick me off, you're not getting any sex tonight. You're not touching me. You're not coming next to me. I don't want to see you. Retribution.
You're withholding something that you know the person wants from them. They need money to do certain things. Yes. You're withholding the money.
Yes. And it maintains a certain power structure because the person knows that they are being kind of molded this way. And they know whenever this happens, they just need to pack it up because they know what's coming. They know what's coming because that's how the person normally behave. You can test these things for yourself, you know. Just look how your partner behave when certain things happen. Look how they respond to certain kind of events and conflict. And it kind of give you an idea of how they become predictable because they're trying to maintain a definite power structure to control the other person. So that's very important for us to understand these power structures. All right, next.
And number 6 is a relationship where lies are perpetuated.
So perpetuated. Now, listen. This is very important. I was watching a video the other day, and the girl said she was talking to a famous civil rights leader, and I'm going to bring it next week. She said, lie to me. What's wrong if a black man lies to me? As long as he comes home, ridiculous. I'm going to play it when we are dealing with lies. Lies are destructive, and they destroy trust.
Absolutely.
A person must not be lied to. That's why I keep saying this. When your spouse cannot take up your phone freely, you know that they're hiding, they're keeping secrets, and they're lying. It's going to lead to lies. Lies
Yeah.
are going to pour out when you start to hide stuff. So, in a relationship where you have lies, you're going to have a poor relationship. I remember again, as I said to Yvette, we're trying to eliminate the waste matters out of the relationship so it doesn't, it doesn't get backed up. So, as much as possible, we don't want to have these things in the relationship. And where we do have them, we have to do some work. We have to do some work to get them done. Now, it's 5 minutes after. I think we can cut it. What do you think? We don't want to weary these saints. We love them too much. And if I love you, if we want to have a healthy relationship on this program, I can't weary you out, right?
No, you
I
can't.
can't. All right? I just
That was
can't.
nice. But let's
Mm.
I have two announcements before we go. Bear
All
me
right.
out, folks.
All righty. You're going to weary the saints still. Although we just said we're not going to weary them.
Well, this is for our fundraiser
A
at
good
our
cause.
church. Please, 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 if you are able to come by tomorrow at 1 o'clock p.m., we are having our fish fry, or we have jerk chicken, all that good stuff, all the good food, everything you desire is there. Please come on out and support us. This is going towards our um, mortgage burning campaign that we have launched, and we would like you to please, please support. If you're unable to make it, you can still send your donation, guys. Zell it to us, fingrace@yahoo.com. And then the next one, as I mentioned, our mortgage burning. If you so desire to help support this cause, please, 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 you are able to donate to either you have PayPal, or if you have Zelle, fingrace@yahoo.com, or you can go directly to our lgcministry.org website page, and you can please indicate there that you are supporting our mortgage burning campaign. We thank you in advance for your support. Thank you so much.
Well, God bless you. Thank you once again for watching Relationships 1 and 1, brought to you by the Kingdom of Heaven and all its righteousness. Good night, Kingdom people. Stay well, stay
Bye-bye.
safe. Love you guys.
Have a wonderful
Have a
week.
wonderful week.
Bye-bye.